price action of today on euro especially was a little bit peculiar, and we had some news at about 9 o'clock. We were expecting the Federal and Constitutional Court in Germany
Yeah.
to express uh, their view about what happened with the ECB, really, and they found that the ECB violated some of the prohibition of the monetary financing of the member state budgets.
When did
Uh,
they? When was this for? Like back a couple of years ago or recently?
oh, well, this, I mean, obviously they didn't sit down and decide. It was decided a long time ago, but it was really kept secret, and they have to write down all the reasons and all these kind of things. I don't want to go into the sort of technicality of that.
Yeah. Okay.
There were quite a lot of rumors about obviously the Bundesbank not being particularly happy with all these emergency loans and uh, taking out all the breaks for the European Central Bank, and it sounded a lot like a sort of political statement.
So,
Uh,
so the Bundesbank weren't happy with stimulus for
well,
other countries in the EU.
the Bundesbank is part of the ECB, right?
Hmm.
So, and we know that there are some different factions, and southern states and northern states. The Dutch were particularly noisy about this potential and an actual intervention from the ECB and so on and so forth.
Right.
This has nothing to do with that. This is the Constitutional Court to decide if some of the things that has happened in the remit of the ECB were constitutional according to the federal law in Germany or not.
Okay.
And of course, they should be totally independent, but everybody can read anything they want into it.
Yeah.
But this is a big blow to the independence in a way, and the power of the ECB. The ECB was very upset apparently about this. But anyway, let's not spend too much time on this because you know that we are not really here to talk about fundamentals.
No, no, absolutely. And I was just curious to find out what was going on, because when you put in the chat earlier that they were there was some news coming out, it was the first I heard of it. So I think that is
Hey,
my fault for not really being aware of what's going on at the moment. But yeah, crack on.
well, basically, uh, the big discussion here is, do we take into account news when we trade 1 hour charts or 4 hour charts or that sort of stuff?
Right.
And I mean, ideally, we don't. We do in lower time frames, as you know, but in 1 hour, there's probably um, enough space to cater for these kind of things.
Yeah.
Apart from some, and we discussed on in the trading room some time ago that non-farm payroll, for instance, or all this kind of big news. Probably we want to avoid trading if we are not already in,
Central
or
banks.
we are close to entry point.
Yeah, yeah. Interest rate decisions, things like that. It's even with 1 hour, 4 hours, gonna have an effect. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, like I was stung on the Bank of Japan release
Yeah.
last week or the week before.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, uh, I the reason why I put it down on our chat is that, in my opinion, it was a particularly important piece of news, and especially for the euro. And I would rather stay out and see what happens in circumstances like this, even on 1 hour chart.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. There were some more reasons to be quite wary about this level here. You might notice, I hope you can see it, this orange line here.
Yeah, I can see it. This is
This is
the euro dollar, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
this is the euro dollar. This is a line that I traced, a long time ago, and I want to see if it's respected or not. Uh, and you can see how it looks pretty important in determining, in this particular case, a resistance,
Yeah.
and they needed big news and a lot of momentum to break it. But even if we go back, you see how it was still there,
Yeah.
still there, still there, still there. So this is an important level. This is what we trace on our price action thing. So if it's an important level in resistance, it might be an important level on support, and you can see that there was some sort of stopping on the track here.
Yeah.
So this entry was, even without the news, it would have been a little bit risky. But then you had the news, and I just want to show what happens many, many, many times. If you leave me 1 second, let's go to 15 minutes.
Sure.
You see what happens. The market started going down,
Yeah.
and then at the time of the news, it shot up, taking out all these longs here
Yeah.
and preparing to go down. Now, of course, conspiracy theory, all the things you want, and blah blah blah. The point is, the news was bad,
Right.
and it should have gone down. And in fact, it did go down. But before that, it had this spike here,
Yeah.
and this is really a spike. There you go. This
Yeah.
is on 5 minutes.
It's trapped the longs or got rid of the shorts before the
Exactly.
news.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the same old story. How comes that a particularly bad news makes the market go up? Well, you read whatever you want into it. In
Yeah.
my opinion, quite a lot of uh, strange kind of movements going on.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you want to sell and you want to sell for your clients, and you're a big broker or a big bank or something, rather than selling here, you would rather start selling here, right?
Right.
And given the fact that the volume usually just goes away before some news, you can actually maneuver the market up a bit before actually dumping it. So, but we
So
don't know if this happens or not. But I've seen this many, 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 many times, and this is one of the reasons why I don't trade news.
right.
Now, staying on this, this is another of the advantages of um, staying in front of a screen at the right time, um, and act even between the hours, because in my opinion, if you see here on 5 minutes what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
it was obviously a bad news. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to find out that this is particularly bad for the euro.
Yeah.
And so there was this breakout here. It was at 9:35. And if we go back to the 1 hour chart, this was the level. So you could have entered at this level here and make your 1 hour.
Sure.
If you didn't do anything, you had to wait until the end of the bar. Well, it was obviously too late.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, we're talking more about price action, and you know that I'm monitoring this particular time frame with two systems: the breakout system and what we call the MABO.
Mhm.
This would have been more a MABO trade. Uh, Strictly speaking, if you are using the breakout with these levels, you would have been too late.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't have
Uh,
entered that one.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, from a, if you disregard disregarded the whole thing, you would have entered short probably here, been stopped out here, and because it was 1 hour, you wouldn't have got in back here.
You may, if you're disregarding the whole thing, you would have been stopped on the long as well, right?
If you disregarded everything, you would have entered here,
Yeah,
and you
short.
would have been stopped out here.
But you also would have entered long there and got stopped out
Uh,
short.
yeah, you're right. You would have had two losses. I
Yeah.
mean, I question the wisdom of putting a long and a short at the same time on a news like that, but that's another story.
No, no. I mean, if you disregarded everything and
Yeah,
yeah, like there was no news event, that was
yeah,
two. That would have been two losses.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so that 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 was it. The same, exactly the same thing happened on EY, and obviously because this was a particularly important news for the euro, the correlation of all the euro-denominated pairs was basically 100%.
Right.
So EY did exactly the same thing as EU, and you could have done exactly the same time, exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Um, in your journal, what would you put this down as? Just no trades in the morning, or if you're on the conservative side, would you put it down as a loss?
I would put down a note that says I have disregarded the levels, both short and long, because there was this momentous decision of the Constitutional Court in Germany regarding the euro.
Okay.
Um on the Mabo journal, I would put with a note that I would have re-entered at 9:35.
Yeah.
Okay, and well, if you look at the euro against the Australian dollar, it was less dramatic, but it was basically the same thing. This was actually because of the development of these levels. This would have actually been a very good one
Yeah.
because you wouldn't have used anything because the level was high here, and then on the new level you would have entered here, and this I know because I followed it. This was a nine. This was after 10 o'clock. So there was a little delay compared to the other euro pairs. So this would have been even better.
Yeah. So
And
the announcement was 9:30. You said.
the announcement was about 9.
So yeah. So the
There was all that commotion of the markets going up a bit. Uh, also because it wasn't the classical news. It wasn't a number higher or lower than expected and so on.
mhm.
There was quite a lot of things to read and digest,
Right.
and it
So
was a legal kind of thing, so it took some time.
so after an hour of the market digesting, like if the news is if the release was 9 o'clock, then it takes the market maybe an hour. It's enough to start trading again.
Less. It took less. If we go back to the euro and we go back to the 5 minutes, you could see. You could see that this was basically the announcement at about 9:05.
Yeah.
I think that it took them 15-20 minutes to read the news and so on, and the real breakout happened at 9:35.
Yeah. That was a nice one.
On euro against the Australian dollar, the real breakout happened a little bit later.
Yeah.
Here. It
Around
was already 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason I like this trade is that, again, these are very important areas that are coming from a long time ago, or relatively long time ago. You see how you have this line here,
Yeah.
and also this line here. I think we need to go back further. Can't see. But there was some congestion here, and this big rally was basically uninterrupted, apart from this point where they thought a bit
Well, they
about it,
thought for an
and
hour.
this point. So you could see that there's still some importance on these
Yeah.
levels. So I always like to enter these levels because I am relatively confident that they're gonna go and test these areas here.
It can act like a magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 168 level is pretty important for EA.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
pair's been crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't finished with my analysis yet, but that was the most important thing for today, I guess.
Yeah.